In this video, we're taking a look at Yang, and that stands for Yet Another Next Generation. What it really is a data modeling language, and it's going to be super important for network automation. And at this level of your studies, I know you're really familiar with the CLI, the command line interface, and you've probably noticed that there are inconsistencies across different vendors if you're trying to configure the same type of thing. If you're trying to define the IP address, for example, on an interface, that's done differently across different vendors. Or sometimes it's done differently in different product lines of the same vendor. And Yang can help solve that problem because it's going to give us a standardized way to represent a network configuration and operational data. For example, on screen, we want to assign an IP address to an interface and administratively bring up that interface. And I'm showing you the CLI commands from 3 different vendors to do that, but you notice they're all different. However, if the devices from these vendors all accept the Yang data model, then we can represent what we want. Like you see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, we can represent what we want with a Yang data model, and that can be applied to all of these vendors. And before I show you an example, let's consider some fundamental principles of Yang. First, it's hierarchical. And by that I mean that data is organized in a tree-like structure, just like you might organize your files in folders on your computer and nest one folder within another folder. Second, this is a very human-readable format, so network engineers can intuitively understand what a particular Yang data model is saying. And third, it is protocol independent. And by that I mean we can use it with netconf and restconf or other management protocols, and we're going to be taking a closer look at netconf and restconf later on in this module, but we can think of Yang as the blueprint that describes what data exists on a device and how that data is structured. And on screen we see a very common Yang module. Specifically, it's the IETF-interfaces Yang module. This is a standard data model to represent an interface, and it's defined by the IETF, so it's compatible with a wide range of vendors. Now let's consider an example of a populated Yang module, which we could send to a router to configure interfaces on that router. The first thing I'd like you to notice is the namespace. The namespace, that's going to identify this Yang module from the many other Yang modules that your device probably supports. And again, we're looking at the very common IETF interfaces Yang module. Next, we have a container, and a container is used to group together related child nodes. And the container, it doesn't have a value itself. Here we see that the interfaces container is containing a grouping of interface nodes. And we have 3 interface nodes. We have one for Gigabit Ethernet 1, Gigabit Ethernet 2, and Gigabit Ethernet 3. And for our discussion, let's focus on the interface node for Gigabit Ethernet 1. It's within this interface node where we can start specifying the settings for that interface. For example, you see that we're specifying the interface identifier, its name of Gigabit Ethernet 1, and that is called a leaf. And a leaf specifies a value, like the interface name, but a leaf does not have any child nodes. And also in this interface node, we have an IPv4 node. Now this is a child node of the interface node, and it's within this IPv4 node that we can specify IPv4 parameters, such as IP address and subnet mask. And that's an overview of Yang data modeling, and a bit later in this module, we'll take a look at how we can use a Yang data model to do some network automation using both netconf and restconf.